If your best people, your greatest talent hasn't walked out the door, they're thinking about it, and it has nothing to do with salary. When talented people seem less engaged, what's really going on? There's probably one major thing that's going on. They're not challenged enough, they're not growing enough for what they want to be. So if you're not continually pushing them in a really positive way, I don't mean extending, putting pressure that cracks them instead of pressure that makes diamonds. If you're putting the pressure that makes diamonds, they're going to be fine. But if you're putting too much pressure or they're not growing at all, they're going to be disengaged, right? They're going to check out. What you're giving them helps them grow. If you as a leader notice that somebody is disengaged or not, they're missing something, there's something off, you already know. You already know something's happening, right? I will tell you, I knew 99% of the time when somebody was leaving the organization, I knew the week to two before they told. And obviously some of those were good. They were non-regrettable losses, but I knew when people were leaving. Just a feeling they do something different, right? So if your most talented people are checking out, you already know. If you don't know, that just means you're not talking to them enough. You're not recognizing the differences that are happening. You know that things might change. And if something changes in your organization where you believe this is going to help somebody exit the building, then you have to have even more conversations with them. As if you're a great leader, you already know. When talented people leave, people believe that all they have to do is give them more perks or more money. Now, most of the cases, they start with more money. $2, $3, $5, $10,000, and they believe they'll fix it. That never fixes it. It might put a Band-Aid on it for a month, 6 months, maybe a year. But if you don't fix the underlying issue of valuing that employee to their greatest extent, it's going to come back months later. This has happened so many times. It happens at every company that doesn't value their employee to the highest extent. If you value your employee, they're not going to leave for $10,000. $10,000, $20,000, even $50,000 might not make a difference. They might not leave. If your leadership is so great, they are probably not going to leave. It's all about the value that you bring. More money is not going to do it. It's going to be nice. They're going to accept it, but it's not going to fix the problem. Having another perk, whatever the perk is, it's going to be temporary. You want to do things that fix the underlying issue of what's going on in their head. If you fix that, when you fix that, things will be rosy for an extended period of time. Now, I've known leaders who recognize that there's something wrong with their most talented employees. I've seen it, and they tried a few things. Typically, those few things didn't work. And the reason they didn't work is because they didn't go to the underlying problem. And what the couple of things that they would try to either buddy up with them a little bit more, give them this a cherry assignment, like one. And typically that talented person sees through that. They see that hasn't really changed. They know I'm unhappy, so they're doing these things that are really temporary because they can feel the culture of the organization hasn't changed, right? So that's the big thing. You can do little things. You can recognize the problem, but if you don't actively change the culture of the organization, I don't mean the entire organization. I just mean the culture of your team, right? If you change the culture of your team, and people think you can't do that, and you can, right? Because there's lots of talented leaders whose people never leave. I know many who have their culture in the organization is bad, but their team culture is so good, and they keep them, and they continue to not only succeed wildly year after year after year, even in a really, dysfunctional culture. So it's all about the culture that you bring to your leadership, to your organization, that to the organization meaning to your people that you lead, that will make them stay, not temporary one-time things that those leaders can see through. Do something substantive. One of the ways when you're talking to your talented people, you want to have intentional conversations. And intentional conversation is really about what you want them to do, what you want to make sure they want to do, right? There's got to be both, right? The first thing is asking them, what do you want to do? How do you want to do this? And then have this conversation about how to make that happen, right? And it might take 2, 3, 4 conversations for it to happen. It might take you to brainstorm because the organization typically doesn't work that way. But if you have intentional conversations about the growth of the talented individual you're talking to, how they can do better, either from a career-wise, financial-wise, visibility-wise, whatever it is, you have to be completely intentional. And they have to believe that you are 100% behind them. The way you show that, the way you demonstrate that is not only with your words, it's 100% with your actions. People don't care about words. They care about actions. What did you do? What did you do to demonstrate that you're actually 100% behind me? When you do that, you're gonna get great results. And no matter if the things that you're working on doesn't come to pass or come to fruition, they're gonna know this leader has my back, and I'm gonna continue to stay and work with him or her to grow my career. When you have a disengaged employee, there's no cost to you to get them engaged. There's no financial cost. There is one cost, and it's your time. I've said this many times, your best ability is your availability. If you're available to them and they know, again, you have their back, that you have their best interest, that's the one thing that's really, really important. And what people said, I just don't have time to talk to this person, I don't have time. And that is such a fallacy. If they're important to you, and it doesn't have to be time today. If you say, hey, here's 2, 3 options the rest of this week that I can meet you. Does any of these 2 times work? Because I want to talk to you. Or either before work or after work, whatever is convenient and makes sense for you and that talented employee. But that availability, that's the key part. Conversations with many leaders about what to do, how to grow the business, how to keep their people. One of the things that I talk to people about is spending more time learning about that person's business and how they think about that business. Not in a micro management way, but learning more about them. And I've always told those leaders, if they know that the reason you're doing that is so they can advocate for you with their upper management, try to get you more resources, try to get you more money, try to get you in front of this, they know that they'll do a lot of things to listen to you. So I talked to a manager about this who just wasn't getting the buy-in that she wanted. And we talked about this, and I talked to her about having, every single time she was with her team, instead of just going out and working, just spend an hour to 2 learning about the business. And after a week and a half of doing it, she said she couldn't believe the response her team had to her. It was dramatic. It was tremendous. Not only did her business grow, her knowledge of the business was so much better. So when something happened or something was asked about what was going on in the field or with customers or whatever, she had a great answer. And when something happened, she could advocate for somebody when they needed a raise because she knew a lot about each situation. What makes me happy when I see the difference, the joy that leaders have when they've actually put some of these things in place, they don't fret working with somebody. They don't fret having conversation. Work is joyful, right? So I can tell you from my past, I was in a position where every Sunday night, I was in a bad mood. I didn't know it. My spouse told me that I was in a bad mood every Sunday night because I didn't want to go to work. And that's what's happening with many leaders before we have the conversation and before they put some of the things that we talk about into action. Once they do, and once they see the results of what's happening, not only from financially, business, customer, but the level of engagement grows so much that the team is so happy, that the manager's happy, they're theoretically skipping to work. Just putting these things into place, there's always a baseline, there's always great communication. And most importantly, if done for an extended period of time, people stay and it attracts even greater talent. At times, leaders specifically think it'll work itself out. That's just a temporary or acute situation. I don't have to address it. Usually, it might seem like it dissipated or disappeared, but if you don't address it or have a conversation, at some time, it'll start to build and grow, and the cost is going to be people walking out the door, your most talented people. Those are the people you lose first because they have options. They have a great track record, right? They can sell themselves to other organizations. Other organizations probably already know about the success that they've had, right? So not taking care of something and just sweeping it under the rug or saying it's gonna go away, that is the recipe for disaster. Attack the problem, have a conversation with that person, because that's true leadership, right? If you just let everything, take care of itself, that is not leadership. That's avoidance. If some of the things that I talked about today resonated with you and you have been losing people and you want to know exactly what that loss is costing you and the organization, there's a link in the description below. It's a talent loss calculator that will tell you exactly how much your talent's walking out the door and how much it's costing you. Like and subscribe. Have a great day.